Sometimes if you can hang that pressure washer on your garage wall, it might make a lot of sense. Giraffe Tools reached out to us and asked if we would review their pressure washer. Of course, we said yes. So this is a sponsored post. However, as always, whether we're buying a tool or having a tool given to us, we're always going to give you the truth. We're always going to give you our thoughts and feelings on how these products stack up against others and what we think the downfalls might be, as well as what we think the positives are. Now, this is the Giraffe Tools Grandfalls Pressure Washer Plus. It's a 100-foot hose reel pressure washer that actually mounts on the wall. So there's no wheels to roll this around. You don't have to trip over it. It's going to mount on your wall. You're going to pull out this hose. You're going to use it, and then supposedly it's supposed to retract back in. Everything kind of hangs there out of the way, and so now you're not wheeling it around, tripping over it, or anything else. You can hook up your hose to it, or maybe you can even leave a hose hooked up to it. Anyway, let's get started on the features, then we'll install this thing and use it, and then we'll be back here to tell you about our thoughts and what we think about it. Let's get started. So here we have the Giraffe Tools Grandfalls Pressure Washer Plus. Excuse the echo, we're in a pretty empty garage here. We've had a new flooring put down, about to get all the walls and ceilings painted, but we thought we'd go ahead and get the Grandfalls Pressure Washer hung from Giraffe Tools, but wanted to go over a few of the features before we get started. Number one, the great thing about this is obviously it's going to be wall mounted, and also it's easily removed from the wall as well. So we're going to dismount on the wall with 4 included screws, so we can go into masonry with the included concrete anchors, or you can go into wood with the lag screws that are also included. But we're going to mount these into cinder block or concrete block walls, and then use the lag screws to go into the anchors. So we'll get that started here in one moment. And all this is included with the Grandfalls pressure washer. Again, this is the Plus. They also have a Pro version that's a little more powerful, but both wall mounted, and both come with a 100-foot or a 100-foot hose and hose reel, which is kind of the brains of this operation here. The simplicity of being able to pull this out, use it, and then just reel it back in, not having to hang hoses somewhere, and all of that makes this really simple. We even get an included little magnetic level here to make sure that our mount is level. Obviously, you've got your own level. You can use that as well. It even comes with a lead hose. I believe that's about 6 feet long, so you can use that if you want to. Especially if you're close to a water spigot already, you can use that, connect it, and you're ready to go. It comes with the wand with the 4 tips as well, so we get a 5-degree, a 15-degree, a 25-degree, and a 40-degree nozzle. So as you put the gun together, that's going to stay there. Your tips are easily accessible for you. And then it also comes with the gun, or with the wand, if you will. And you have a trigger lockout for safety to make sure it's just not accidentally pressed if you're laying it down somewhere. Here on the left side of the unit, if you're facing the unit, we have a brass input here. So this is where our hose lead's going to hook into. So nice solid brass piece there. Should not corrode over time. And then also we have a mount back here for the soap cannon that's also included with the Giraffe Tools pressure washer. So nice little mount back there, placement to put that and store that away when you're not using it. And here on the opposite side, or be the right-hand side if you're facing the unit, we have the on-off switch here. So once we plug this in, get it mounted, turn to the right, that turns it on, turn to the left, that turns it off. Have 2 integrated handles, one on either side, to make this easy to pick up. By the way, this weighs in at about right around the 40-pound mark. But once you have water in the hose, once you have your wand on there, your soap cannon on there, it's probably going to be closer to 50 pounds. So just, be understanding of that when you go to pull this on and off the wall, that it does have quite a bit of weight to it. And here on the back, we have our electrical cord where we'll plug that in. And this is actually the mount for the wand, that we can store it when that's not in use. Also, this is where our bracket, our mounting bracket, is going to slide right here in these rails to make it easy to pull this on and off. So you can see our mount here just slides in these tracks right here and slides up into place. It's really not going to slide up. The unit itself is going to slide down on the rails of this, but very easy to manage taking this on and off. Also, with the slanted angles on these bolt holes or the anchor holes, it's going to make it nice to be able to level this out without issues, even if you don't do the best job at getting your holes nice and level. Now we're going to mount the pressure washer right here underneath this window because we have an electrical outlet right there, which will make it very nice to plug that into and either leave it plugged in or unplug it if we need to and not have much cord to deal with. But I'm going to just kind of loosely mark this so we know how far to drop down for the actual bracket. And the top of the bracket goes about right there. I think maybe we'll drop that just down just a touch more. Again, putting the top of the bracket about right there. And by the way, if you have a little water leaking out of the hose, they test all of their units before they leave the factory. So just understand that. So if this is the top of the bracket, then I probably want my anchor to be right at, I'm going to say 11 1/4 on the center of this window. So with this being our center, I'm going to put the first lag about right there. 11 1/4. These anchors seem to be a little bigger than 3/8 of an inch, but we're going to go with 3/8 just to make sure we don't oversize that. We want these to grab really well. But we're going to start out with a pilot hole, just drilling a 5/16 inch hole. Make sure we're in hammer drill mode. Then we'll step up to our 3/8. We'll run the one lag in just kind of gently. Try to get it in the middle of our slot. There we go. Now we can check level and mark other holes. I would try not to run that in and out too many times because sometimes those anchors will fail over time as far as multiple uses, but I think one time on one of those, you're absolutely fine. If you notice, these two holes were in a hollow cell, so they're not poured solid. These two are poured solid. So I'm just going to be careful not to blow out the back when I'm drilling through. This one I don't have to worry about. Okay, we've got all 4 anchors in. Let's get all our lag screws started. And they all go in. We got level. And there we go. Now that our mount's up, it should be as easy as lining up those rails and sliding it down. So now it's mounted and our wand will fit right there. However, I did notice something. There's really no way for the extended wand to actually fit through with the tips on there. I would assume you'll have to take the tips out or leave this separated. So with the tips out and the wand on, it will fit through there just fine. So I think it'd be nice if you had someplace on the unit itself where you actually stored the tips and not actually on the wand itself. So we had a little mic glitch here, so doing a little voiceover. Now we're going to connect our hose lead here, and really you could probably do this by hand with the rubber gasket, rubber O-ring that's in there. It's really not an O-ring, it's more of a rubber gasket or urethane gasket. With that in there, you really don't have to put a lot of pressure on this to seal, so again, you could probably do this by hand, but we'll go ahead and take a small wrench and just tighten this up to make sure that we don't have any leaks. So a couple of twists there, and we've got that nice and snug. And by the way, this hose lead also has a screen on either side, keeping any large contaminants out of this pressure washer, which is another surety nice to have. And so now we're hooking it to the garden hose. And again, hand tight on this is going to be absolutely fine with that rubber gasket. And it doesn't have to be too tight to seal all the leaks. Now we're going to connect the high pressure hose coming from the pressure washer to the wand. Now this does have a rubber O-ring, so again you're going to have to push it in, then start to twist it and get the thread started. And again, hand tight is going to be fine. The O-ring's doing the sealing, not the threads. We're going to put our wand back in place, and we're almost ready to go. Now we have the stopper here on the high pressure hose that when it retracts back in, this allows it to stop in that spot and give you enough lead there to hook to the wand and put it back in place if that's where you want it. So we're going to loosen it here a little bit and actually remove it and put it back in the spot where we need it. So move it down the hose. We probably could have just slid it, but it didn't want to slide very easy. So again, we just backed off the two Phillips head screws, moved it up the line a little ways, and now we're tightening the screws back down to allow this to stop where we need it to, and then we still have enough lead hose to put our wand in the pressure washer in the holder. Okay, so now we have all the power hooked up, we have the water hose hooked up, but we don't have the water on yet, and we definitely don't want to run the pressure washer until we get water all the way through the hose and to the wand. So we want to turn on our water, don't turn on the pressure washer yet, and we're going to basically pull the trigger on the wand until we get water out the nose. No tip on it yet at all. We just want to get water running out the wand. You may hear a little hissing, a little groaning. Basically, it's compressing all the air trapped in here. So when we pull this, now we're shooting air. Now we're starting to get water. Pull this outside. Continue to purge this. You want to make sure we get all the air out of this hose because we don't want the pump cavitating. Looks like it's running clear, pretty steady, and that should be good. Okay, first thing we're going to do is wash your car. We're going to use a foam cannon. So we're just going to use the one supplied by Giraffe Tools. We're going to put that on there. We'll put the canister on here in a moment. We have an adjustable knob here where we can adjust the amount of foam that's coming out of the unit. To the right is less foam, to the left is more foam, so that can be adjusted there. And then also the fan tip can be controlled here as to how wide the fan's going to be. Again, we'll show that here in one moment. Now we've already put some soap in the foam cannon bottle, but I'm just going to go ahead and fill it up with water. You never want to use 100% soap. Got a couple of ounces here to this bottle. Agitate it a little bit. Now we'll turn the unit on. So once it reaches pressure, it should shut off. And then once we start pulling the trigger again, we should hear that machine kick back on and provide the pressure. Again, we can adjust our fan. There we go. All right, we had to refill our foam cannon. Cannon's not quite big enough to do the whole car. We should be good. One thing I really like about it, I'm going to change this out to the 40-degree tip to rinse this, is the fact that with 100 foot of hose, I have plenty of hose to walk all the way around this vehicle, get every side without having to move a pressure washer. That comes in very handy. All right, let's rinse this. And as for general cleanup, like cobwebs, stains on paint, things like that, and here's the great thing about this. When we're done, and you see it's actually tracking this, so I don't have to feed this hose. It's actually tracking it across here and winding this up like it's supposed to. I'm just literally throttling this slower than if it just went wide open to go in there. Take our wand, put it in the holder, shut it off, unplug it, and we're ready for the next use. So here's the bottom line here. Price on this is somewhere between $360 and $400, and I believe you can get deals on it sometimes, but I believe right now it's like $360 or $359. It's very handy, mounts to the wall, out of place, so you're not tripping over it, you're not sweeping around it. It has a place for everything, right? We have a 100-foot hose reel that comes in very, very handy, auto retracts when you want it to, and also guides it on the spool so you're not having to fight as to where this rolls back up on there. Now, it is kind of frustrating that the tips will not store away on the wand, like you can put them on there and still be able to put them down in the holder. But as long as you have some place to put those tips, you should be absolutely fine and everything's tucked out away and neat and tidy. I would say the foam cannon, if you don't mind, just washing with a foam cannon and taking the advantage of the handiness of it, this will be absolutely fine. If you're a car enthusiast looking for a great foam cannon, step up to whatever foam cannon you like. You're probably not going to be happy with this. The canister's not big enough, as well as the spray is just not the greatest. But again, as for something that's included with the pressure washer, not a problem, totally understood, but car enthusiasts are probably going to step that up and go to their favorite foam cannon anyway. And I'd probably also recommend to go to a shorty wand or a wand of your choice. Again, that's going to be car enthusiast people, general cleanup, general car wash. What's included with this kit works absolutely fine. And if you want to step up, you can step up to the Pro version as well. Now, this one has an 1800 watt motor. It operates on your typical 15 amp outlet. It actually has a trip set built into it, a reset breaker, so you're not popping breakers from, if you've got on a weak circuit, it's actually going to trip the breaker in the plug and not on your system. And that's as simple as just pushing the reset button and getting going again. Now, pressure on this is rated in normal operating or typical load at 2,050 PSI and 1.1 gallons per minute. So again, general cleanup around the house, great solution for that. Yeah, if you're interested, we have a link in the description, or you can find them at girafftools.com. Also, keep track of us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, even TikTok. And if you don't mind, hit that like and subscribe button if you haven't done so already. And by all means, if you hated our video, well, give us a thumbs down. But would you let us know in the comments why? Have a great day. Keep smiling.